In this video, you'll understand what place value is. So let's begin with the number. Let's say I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This number is the first digits or single digits. The next is the tens. We've got hundreds. We've then got thousands, got 10,000s, 100,000s, and a million. And obviously numbers carry on going past a million as well, but we'll stop there for now. We've also got decimals as well. So let's say we've got a number that's half of 1. We've got 0.5, or let's say we've got a quarter. We've got a tenth, we've got a hundredth, and that also carries on the other way around. So in general, this is what we have for numbers. We'll always have a decimal place here if nothing's written. So we have 100 as another example, 0.00. That's the same as just saying 100. And 100 is made up of 0 single digits, 0 in the tens, and 1 in the hundreds. It can get a little bit more tricky, as we will see in the worksheet, but have a go, and if you have any questions, watch the recording back. Question 1. Write down the value of 3 and the number 375. So let's write down the number first. You know this is our single digits, that's our tens, and that's our hundreds. The 3 is representing the hundreds. And write this out in full. You'll get full marks in your exam. If you don't just point to the 3, you need to write down what is it representing. It's representing the hundreds. Next, write down the value of the 8 in the number 28.4. So 28.4. We've got this is our single digits. We need to write that out. Let's move on. Write down the value of the 4 in the number 4182. You can see from the question, I've already said it when I was saying the number, so 4 is representing thousands. And usually we put a comma after every 3 numbers, so imagine we had 72,580,003. Every 3 numbers we usually put a comma, and that helps us differentiate and understand what the place value is. So I know after 2 commas, that's going to be my millions, or after 1 comma, that's going to be my thousands. And that helps you understand numbers a lot easier just by visually seeing it, because seeing that number versus if I wrote it without commas, there's quite a big difference. It's quite tricky to read this number initially without the commas. If you are dealing in other topics, you'd usually see numbers with commas if you haven't come across that. Question 4, write down the value of the 2 in the number 58.2. So write your number out first. The 2 is representing the tenths column. Write down the value of the 9 in the number 32.59. I know the 5 is my tenths column and my 9 is my hundredths column. I think it's important to note at this point that this 2 can sometimes be called the ones column. So you can either call it single digits or ones. Then you've got your tens, hundreds, etc, etc. If you call it ones, depending on the textbook, you'll also get full marks, that's fine. Let's move on. Question 6. Write down a 5-digit number that has 7 as its thousands digit. You can only use the 7-digit once. We want a 5-digit number. You can see I'm using the comma after every 3 digits to make it a bit easier for myself. And the thousands is that number there. I need to make sure I've got a 7 in that thousands column. So let's say I've got 67,123. That's perfectly fine as an answer. Similar question, write down a 7-digit number that has 5 as its hundreds digit. 7 digits, I've got 2 commas. I know this number is my millions and this number is my thousands. Let's think of an example, 3,333,533. That's perfectly fine. You can see the difference if I didn't write the number with commas. I would get 3,333,533. Quite tricky to read without having those commas. So the commas really break up the number and help us be able to read the number just at a glance rather than trying to figure out what place value you've got. Next, write the number 2.3 million in figures, 2,300,000, 000. As I've said before, the 7th digit is your millions column. Then you've got 100,000s, 10,000s, thousands, hundreds, tens, and ones. Write the number 4,600,000 in figures. It's a bit confusing, but what we mean here is 460,000. That's the same as saying 4,600,000. Question 10. Here are 4 number cards, 4, 5, 0 and 2. Write down the largest 3-digit number that can be made using these number cards. To get the largest 3-digit number, I need the first number, or the number on the left, to be the biggest possible, and then going smaller and smaller from the left to the right. To get the largest, the biggest number I have is 5, then 4, and then 2. 542 is the biggest number I can make using 4, 5, 0 and 2. Arrange the cards to give the smallest possible answer to the sum. So to get the smallest possible answer, I need the numbers again on my left hand side of my place value to be small as possible. So the smallest numbers are 0 and 2, then I'm left with 4 and 5. So you can see that is the smallest combination that I can use to get the smallest number possible. And coming on to the last question, which is quite a good question. Write the following numbers in order of size, starting with the smallest number. For you to get the smallest number, we need to just remember what we've covered so far, in that the leftmost number is the biggest in terms of place value, and the right is smaller and smaller and smaller, generally in terms of numbers. And obviously here we're excluding things like negative numbers. The smallest number is 0.028, because that has the most zeros on the left hand side. I'm going to put a cross, so I remember that I've done that number. The next is looking at the hundredths column. I've got a 2 and an 8. 2 is smaller than an 8, so that goes next. 0.28, then 0.82. Let's cross those out now that we've done those, and we're left with 2.8 and then 28. That wasn't too bad. We've got harder questions on the website, so definitely try those. If you've got any questions, ask them in our group sessions. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.